I don't need to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that zombies don't recognize borders and that a zombie invasion in the United States could easily turn into a continent-wide pandemic. So on behalf of concerned Canadians everywhere, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is he working with his American counterparts to develop an international zombie strategy so that a zombie invasion does not turn into a zombie apocalypse?
Coming up next on Action News 7, a dog was found. Excuse me, just one moment. I see. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm receiving a special broadcast about something that's happening.
Van Dorn Street is blocked right now by overturned cars.
We are receiving news that the bodies of the recently deceased are returning to life and attacking the living.
Officers are on their way right now to take you to safety. A live reporter out there on the scene.
There are millions of zombies roaming the earth, chewing people up. Is that crazy or what?
I suggest you find the tallest building in your town and jump off.
After the zombie outbreak is no longer an outbreak, but a full-on pandemic.
Warning you to stay indoors, to lock your doors, to arm yourself with any weapons that are available, and this is America, so you should have plenty.
Grab something heavy, something that you can hit very hard with, and let's party!
The living dead are keeping me up at night. They're hanging around outside. They're probably mad they've died. The living dead are gathering in the streets. I'm buried beneath my sheets. They're making it hard to sleep. I hear them shuffle in the crowd. But do they have to be so loud? It seems to me that all their lives were spent being noisy, and now they get to do it twice, just to annoy me. The living dead are keeping me up at night. They're hanging around outside. They're probably mad they died. The living dead are keeping me up at night. They're hanging around outside. They're probably mad they died.
I'm Jonathan Lennon from Geekscape, and we're going to find out what the average person knows about zombies.
A zombie is someone who's dead and came out of the ground and is bleeding and is gross looking and will kill you.
What do zombies want?
Brains.
What are the zombie rules?
Zombie rules is that you die, but you don't die.
If you want to be a more like angsty metaphorical one, it could be zombie could be someone like trapped in a work day who lives in a box and doesn't have fun.
In Chinese tradition, a zombie just jumps.
It doesn't talk, it doesn't walk, it just jumps.
What? The arms out, and then it just hops like that.
The zombie is a relentlessly aggressive, reanimated human corpse driven by a biological infection. So there's kind of three aspects to that. You don't negotiate with a zombie, right? You can't talk a zombie out of wanting to eat you. You can't say, hey, go around the corner, there's a family of 5 getting in a Winnebago. Like, you can eat all 5 of them and leave me alone. Secondly, it's a reanimated human corpse, limited in its ability. It's actually a rotting corpse. Thirdly, a biological infection, which is, I think, what makes zombies really, really scary.
They're us, and they're us having succumbed to our worst fear, which is our own death. You can't outstrip them. Even though they're slower than you, eventually you have to go to sleep. They don't, So even if you're a mile ahead of them, while you're snoring, they'll catch up and meet you. And it's like, that's like death itself. You do everything you can to stave it off. You do the steps of Santa Monica, you don't eat red meat, but it'll get you in the end.
Most famous monsters, the big screen monsters, have some kind of long-standing tradition where their stories have been developed previously. The vampire, the werewolf, even the slasher, the serial killer, comes out of a crime novel tradition. The zombie comes kind of directly out of folklore, and there really wasn't a literary narrative tradition.
When you take a look at zombies in cinema specifically, you can technically go back into the silent era. There are, of course, classics like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, where you have the sleepwalking character in there who is very much zombie-like. And yet, for all intents and purposes, we all have kind of collectively agreed it all starts in 1932 with White Zombie.
Zombie! Halavi! Halav!
The filmmakers in the 30s and 40s were kind of making up these stories out of nothing. They weren't taking existing material and adapting it. If anything, they were drawing on misconceptions and misunderstandings of race relations in the colonies, sensational ideas of what voodoo and folklore really meant in Haiti. They took that idea and they kind of merged it with the visual style of Todd Browning and the Gothic tradition.
I thought that beauty alone would satisfy. But the soul is gone. I can't bear those empty, staring eyes.
So in White Zombie, you get a narrative that takes place in Haiti, and it involves Haitian voodoo, but then there's a Gothic castle on the coast of Haiti for some reason. So it's this weird fusion of a misunderstood, sensationalized folklore with an established and successful cinematic tradition for monsters. The early films are always about black people menacing white women. It's really the enslavement by the former slaves that makes that monster initially so terrifying.
The next major step in sort of the evolution of the zombie as a pop culture icon comes when science fiction briefly takes the lead over horror in the 1950s. And then you get movies like Invisible Invaders.
People of Earth, this is your last warning.
In which aliens resurrect human corpses and use them like puppets to try to take over, which is virtually the same plot as Plan 9 from Outer Space, one of the most infamous movies of all time. And what's interesting about those movies is there we have it. We have dead people coming back. They're not demonically possessed. They're not impelled by some desire to eat flesh or something we don't know. They're being puppeteered by aliens. But they're zombies, and they're more like the zombies we know today than the ones that preceded them.
But then what happened was George Romero.
The dead who live on living flesh. The dead whose haunted souls hunt the living. The living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead.
We were trying to create a new creature, somebody that was dead but came back. We didn't have a name for that creature even. We called them ghouls.
I said, George, who are these characters that's chasing this girl? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, when I was reading it, it seemed to me they could be dead people. He said, that's good. I said, but what do they do? You don't say that either. He said, I don't know. I said, why don't we use my flesh-eating idea?
There was an article in Cahiers du Cinéma that called them zombies for the first time. I was clinging to the idea that we had created something new. And when I read that article, I said, whoa, this ain't new at all. So that's when I started to accept them as zombies.
Night of the Living Dead did not create zombies, but it rewrote zombie lore. I like to say that there were zombie movies before George Romero, the same way there were space movies before George Lucas. It changed everything. It scrapped the old voodoo zombie and gave us the plague-driven flesh eater.
The idea of
the end of the world and zombies are around and the world's been overtaken by them and it's people against zombies and our population is dwindling, was introduced in that movie, and no one had ever really taken zombies in that direction before.
It's almost as if the zombie as we know it is some sort of like biblical figure that's been around forever and we can all pick up and use it. It's not. It was George's idea. The whole biting thing, the passing on the disease, the waking up. It's all George.
What's monumental to me about that film was the fact that in 1968, this film was released with a black man and a white woman. And throughout the entire movie, nobody made a big deal out of the fact that we had two different colors. It was pure survival.
We thought we were pushing the envelope a little. We thought that, some of the scenes with the guts and when the kids get roasted in the truck, we had actually one shot of a naked zombie from behind. Bold. That's about as bold as we went.
There were extreme audience and media reactions. Reviewers who thought that we were satanically inspired, that we were scourges, that our film should be banned.
Horror movies were not raw like that back then. George's was almost like a real thing, a documentary.
The reaction to that movie is what really got me going, because it said that people were fainting in theaters, and I thought, I don't think I want to see this movie. And maybe not want to see it. And then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's why I didn't want to see it.
I remember the first time I saw it was at a midnight screening, and the audience was absolutely terrified. The sequence that I think that blew people away was the little girl down in the basement who we discover is chewing on her parents' intestines. The entire audience flipped out. People got up and left the theater during that scene.
Midway through the movie, I hear this like boom, 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 boom. And I'm wondering what's going on. Is this part of the movie? And all of a sudden I see this guy go down the aisle. He blasts through the doors, out to the curb and goes, all over Cambridge Avenue. I said, okay, I gotta meet this guy. Whoever made this movie, I gotta meet this guy.
Driving slowly, going home to see their mother's grave. Walking closely, there's an old man whose clothes are decayed. John can see that she's frightened, so he tries to lighten the mood. They're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming and they'll be here soon. Don't be afraid, they just want your brain, and they're coming to get you.
The greatest zombie film, in my opinion, is Dawn of the Dead. Every time it's scary, it becomes funny. And every time it's funny, it becomes scary. Zombies on an ice skating rink, it doesn't get any funnier than that.
It's almost as if history conspires to hand Romero the absolute perfect metaphor for the zombie. You couldn't do any better than that. We're a nation that has become these shambling consumers that walk up and down the hallways desperately wanting to consume, and we have lost all individuality. It's absolutely perfect.
For me, Dawn of the Dead was kind of the seminal zombie movie because it really was the middle finger to the death of the baby boomers. It was this generation that started off so idealistic and was so like, hey man, don't trust anyone over 30, man. Don't trust anyone over 30. And then they turned 30. And I mean, that moment where they say like, what is that? And he goes, looks like a shopping center, one of those new indoor malls.
See, there was no shopping center. That was the first shopping center that we had ever seen.
It was the dawn of the death of the ideals.
Every time it's Black Friday, how can you not think of Dawn of the Dead? It's chilling and disgusting all at once,
So there is this evolutionary process that George is going through, and in Day, what he does is he says, okay, now we're going to see the zombies evolve. And that was groundbreaking.
That's where George's genius, I think, is that he completely swaps allegiances, with his films. As often you'll root for the zombies, which is, you never root for the zombies in contemporary zombie films because they're at our protagonist's throats, literally, and we don't want those protagonists to die. Whereas particularly with Day, most of the human characters are hideous, monstrous, aggressive military types who you just want to see torn to pieces. And, when Bub shoots Captain Rhodes, you cheer. It's all down to Howard Sherman being just so sweet, when he's using the razor and he's on the phone and he's listening to the music and he's hearing music for the first time and it's like a baby. I just think it's one of the most beautiful performances since Karloff's Frankenstein as a kind of adult newborn. There's something so deeply tragic and sympathetic about him.
Oh, I don't feel that at all. There's nothing tragic in a reanimated corpse. How can there be? I mean, a reanimated corpse is just a reanimated corpse. There's nothing tragic about it. You shoot it in the head, Bob's your uncle.
Boris Karloff, with that role, had the opportunity to do a lot of very subtle, intimate things. Most monsters don't. As Bub, I did too. I had a lot of very interesting, subtle, and by genre standards, very unusual things to do. And the fact that I had the opportunity to do something like that is what brought an element of humanity to it that normally you just don't find in the genre.
I don't think zombies are intelligent. I think that they just remember what they used to do, what they used to be. My zombie characters that have some personality, I think are just what they do because of their memory makes them a bit heroic. But it's just memory. It's just memory. I mean, it's just like when you first see Big Daddy in Land of the Dead, he's doing what he always did. He's trying to fill gas. He hears the bell, ding, ding, and he thinks a car came in. So he comes out looking to fill somebody's car. I mean, that's how stupid he is. But, but he's heroic.
What a perfectly average morning. Nothing unusual about today, which makes it the perfect day for a zombie apocalypse to not happen. La-di-da-di-doo. It's a beautiful morning. I smell breakfast cooking.
Rages out of control.
Oh, what's this on the news?
Is yet unknown, but it has been reported that the dead are coming back to life.
Oh my
The
God.
president is declaring martial law in the state of New York.
Betty, is that you? Is that blood all over your jammy jams? Why are you just standing there? Why is there a smoke machine running in the hallway now? Oh well, even though I've seen this scene a million times in every movie, I'm just going to slowly start walking towards you with my arms outstretched, asking if everything's okay, even though this looks highly suspicious, and at any moment you're gonna... Oh my God!
Zombies are the only horror films that I know where you're totally minding your own business and you're not looking for trouble and you're not the hot girl or the token black guy. You've broken no rules to let you get killed, but they come for you anyway.
They're not about you. That's the main thing. If something's going to eviscerate you, eat your guts, you'd like it to be about your guts, right? Like you'd like your guts to be special. But if I can just step to the left and he eats that guy's guts, it's not about me anymore. Vampires are all about me. They make me feel sexy and libidinal and all that. Zombies, they could care less about me. And that's actually our biggest nightmare.
And they don't sparkle.
Right. Every time you look at a zombie in pop culture, whether it's a movie or a television show or a comic book, anything, it is ultimately just a reflection of things we're afraid of at that moment.
When you start with Night of the Living Dead, 1960s, late 60s, we're afraid of Vietnam, we're afraid of the death we're seeing on television, that's easy. But we're also afraid about what's happening to the home. The nuclear family is breaking down. So Night of the Living Dead becomes a literal siege on the home. Jump ahead 10 years. Dawn of the Dead. What are we afraid of now? Consumerism, consumption. Jump ahead, Day of the Dead. Now we're afraid of the Cold War. We're afraid of the apocalypse, of nuclear destruction.
As the culture changed, the zombies to an extent changed along with it. In the 1980s, all of a sudden you see them starting to get a little bit funny. You had Return of the Living Dead, where all of a sudden you have all this comedy going on. And the 80s were sort of a little bit of a lighter time.
But it's also desperately frightening and depressing. That is probably one of the most, if not the most, apocalyptic zombie movies ever made. They're also the most indestructible and frightening zombies in zombie movie history. If you ever find yourself in a zombie apocalypse, the first thing you should look for is, are you in the Return of the Living Dead universe or not? Because if you are, give up. There's no hope. Another thing that's interesting about Return of the Living Dead is it gives rise to one of the longest lasting aspects of the zombie in pop culture. And that's the idea of the zombies coming back wanting brains.
So in the 90s were kind of, I don't want to say they were a dead era, but they were definitely slow comparatively.
Party's over.
Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's Sumatran Rat Monkey, family issue, gore fest, insanity. It's probably the most important film of the 90s. And then 9/11 came along, and all of a sudden everything felt upended. I think it primed the culture, the larger culture, not the people who already like zombies, but the larger culture to accept and entertain the idea of apocalyptic scenarios being a possibility. A few years later, when Katrina happened, anyone who still had faith, don't worry, no matter what happens, we can handle it. This was an aberration. I think that shook it as well. I don't think that zombie culture would be where it was today if it weren't for those kind of things. It brought death to people's doorstep.
You have 28 Days Later, which has plenty of imagery which is evocative of an apocalypse or a natural disaster. This fear of disease. And so we start seeing more and more of the infection narratives and the invasion narratives as a kind of a reflection of the fears of the 21st century.
Zombies are very versatile as metaphors because they're us. They are the people among you. And I think maybe that preoccupation in society, the lack of safety that we're suddenly all feeling, zombies are a good way to kind of cathartically act out that fear.
What I always find fascinating about zombies is the invasion of the body snatchers aspect. The most horrific idea is that your brother, your wife, your sister, a loved one, externally, on the outside, that person is exactly the same. But on the inside, everything is gone. Everything is erased.
To me, what the zombie narrative is really about is losing friends and family, having your loved ones turn against you, become monstrous.
Goodbye, Mommy.
That the biggest threat that you face isn't some nameless, faceless, othered monster. It's your mom, it's your sister, it's your wife. That, to me, encapsulates the real terror of the zombie, the fact that we all have the potential within us to be monstrous.
There's that trailer, it was called Dead Island. It was a video game, and you see this kind of freaky girl attacking a older man, and then it kind of all goes in reverse, ending with it being a family vacation, and they're taking a photo together. You realize it was his daughter that he's beating with a bat. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I dreamt about them last night. I dreamt about them. I thought making Shaun of the Dead would stop my recurring dreams about zombies, but it hasn't. I still occasionally have a dream where I'm in that classic situation where they're outside the house and I can't get away, and it's fucking terrifying. Shaun happened because Edgar Wright and myself were making our TV show Space. The beginning of one of the episodes starts with me lost in the game Resident Evil, and it was just a very sort of sneaky way to enable myself to shoot some zombies, you know. They totally captured that feeling of Romero's films, that shambolic zombie. It looked like they'd almost watched those movies to get the way those creatures moved. It really ignited that sort of love in me again, and Edgar as well. And we started talking about Dawn of the Dead and how much we loved it, and then we had Dawn of the Dead on set, and we were like, we should make a zombie film.
Well, I have to say that Shaun of the Dead was probably my favorite a zombie film that wasn't made by me.
I think Shaun of the Dead is probably the second most important zombie film ever made because of the social commentary. It encapsulates an entire generation of young English people in the very same way Kevin Smith's Clerks encapsulated my generation. Forget zombies. I think if you just were going to look at a movie that put that generation through a lens, that's Shaun of the Dead.
The Walking Dead came about because of my love of George Romero films and zombie movies in general. You know, most zombie films end with either all of the characters dying or 2 or 3 of the characters living while all the others die, and they kind of ride off into the sunset, and you never know where they go. The Walking Dead was devised as the zombie movie that never ends. I will plainly say that Bram Stoker is to Stephenie Meyer as George Romero is to Robert Kirkman. There is no Walking Dead without Night of the Living Dead, you know, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. I definitely owe that guy. When Ben comes out of that house at the end of Night of the Living Dead, and you think he's getting rescued, and instead he gets shot.
Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
The sinking feeling that gives you, the sense of loss, definitely inspires the way that I want to mess with expectations. If characters weren't dying constantly in a zombie story, in an apocalyptic story, it would be completely false and fake and unrealistic, and it'd be complete bullshit. And there are times when I'm writing the Walking Dead comic where I'll go, wait a minute, it's been like 10 issues and no one's died. This sucks. Someone's got to die this issue. People got to die, you know? Otherwise, it's just dull.
Because the zombie was kind of organically created by different people, I think filmmakers and authors and video game designers feel they have a great deal of liberty with what a zombie is. So we can have zombies that are dead, but we can also have zombies that are alive. You can have zombies that drink blood, but you can also have zombies that eat flesh or just eat brains. You can have zombies that are weak, you can have zombies that are super strong. Some zombies talk, most don't. Some can feel things, some can't.
That movie WALL-E, the Pixar movie, like I feel like that's kind of a zombie movie, when he goes up and the robot finds all the earthlings that are just these like kind of fat blobs hooked up to machines, like those are like G-rated benevolent zombies.
We got into this idea in Reanimator that when they're reanimated, that it somehow frees their libido. And so that's kind of what Dr. Hill is. This is a guy who is lusting after the dean's daughter, but never was able to really act on it until he's reanimated. And in the course of the movie, he refers to himself as the improved Dr. Hill. It's in a way, it's a more honest Dr. Hill.
He almost breaks the rules of the zombie because he has a stronger idea of who he is.
Deadites and zombies are from different families, different species. A deadite is someone who isn't necessarily dead, they just got possessed. It's weird, in Evil Dead we have both. Army of Darkness, we have an army of the dead. Skeletons coming back, and they get to talk. I don't know how they do that without a larynx, but
Bring on the wench!
I think with like Army of Darkness, you didn't want to be alive or dead. You didn't even want to be in that movie if you weren't Ash, because everyone else is dead or possessed, ultimately.
Anybody that argues that because something is alive can't be a zombie obviously doesn't remember the history about voodoo zombies and how it all started, so I count the infected. Even though Danny Boyle would say he didn't make a zombie movie, but I'm sorry, he's wrong. He actually made a zombie movie.
So the word zombie, as we spell it in English, is pretty close to the Haitian French, zombie with just a terminal I. And it probably comes from a Congolese word, nzombi, with an N.
In some places there is a god named Zombie. There was a revolutionary hero named Zombie. Some people have associated it with a type of bird. Other people say there's a plant called Zombie.
The zombie is somebody who was supposed to be dead, but who's not.
The origin of the zombie in Africa was a separation of spirit from body and being stuck in the mortal world.
Dutch slavers, Portuguese slavers, heard tales of these fears that the people had that witch doctors were capable of stealing their souls. They would steal a person's soul, put it in some kind of vessel, and then the body would keep laboring for the witch doctor. Somewhere around the colony of Saint-Domingue, around the Haitian Revolution, 1800, the word zombie and the soul capture mythology come together. And from that point on, we're talking about the zombie as a walking corpse.
Zombification is just one of the things that they do as a form of punishment, where you go into a form of slavery never to return.
Since he doesn't have any life, they think he's dead. They bury the person. He has a certain time to wake up. They take the person out of where he is buried. He is still half awake and half dead. That's the zombie.
If you want to understand what is a zombie, it is somebody who has one part of his spirituality that has been toned down. You have a part of your intelligence. It's like a window. And when it's turned down, you lose your will. And naturally, the will of doing bad things to others. And this is what Hollywood has not understood. A zombie cannot do harm. In other places, people who commit crimes are usually put in a gas chamber, or they are killed by electric chair, which to me is horrible. In fact, it is desecrating the human being, because a human being should be treated with respect all the time. To me, zombification is something spiritual.
Wade Davis famously went down from Harvard as an ethnobotanist, and he did some research into what could possibly be the scientific origins of this tradition.
Davis theorized that it was actually possible with a poison, it's called tetrodotoxin, to poison someone, give them the appearance of death that was so believable that you could then have them buried, have a funeral for them, dig them up later, and then keep them in a kind of comatose state so that they would only be able to do the most basic commands, so that in effect you could keep them as a slave that people would perceive to be nothing but the walking dead.
We have evidence that people being turned into zombies was a real problem in Haiti, because part of the Haitian criminal code actually has a law against turning people into zombies. It's actually on their books. It is illegal to poison someone, bring them back, and sell them as slaves.
Even though we think of this as an American monster, this is part of a bigger mythology, one that isn't uniquely ours, but is more global, one that really comes to us from Africa, and from its inception is very much about slavery, and from its sort of pivotal turn it makes in Haiti, becomes a lot about slave rebellion.
Damn zombies. These nails cost me $2.49 a box. It's a good thing I had all this scrap wood, though. Well, that's that. I wonder if these zombies are going to be the fast ones or the slow ones. I hope they're the slow ones, because I'm an old man. Oh, there's one now. Oh, great, they're the fast zombies. That's no good for me. Oh, wait a minute, it's just a jogger. Whew. Well, that's good. But that still doesn't answer my question whether or not the zombies are fast ones. Oh, I guess they're slow ones. Well, that's good news for me that they're slow ones. But wait, if you could just run away from slow zombies with ease, then why aren't all new zombies old people like me? In fact, how does a slow zombie outbreak even get out of control in the first place? Now, I could maybe see a slow zombie outbreak getting out of control in a densely occupied apartment building, but way out in the country, where there's just so much distance in between the infected and the living, well, not so much.
The slow versus fast debate is one of my very favorites in zombie worlds. I'm partial to the slow zombies. I actually think they're way scarier. If something's fast and it's running after you, you just gotta run. If something's slow and shambling towards you, you wait, because we have this desire that it's still human, right? Like you think, oh, it looks like my girlfriend. It still looks like my girlfriend. She's stumbling a little bit, but maybe it's my girlfriend with a broken ankle. You don't know. And you let her get just a little bit too close. All you gotta do is walk slightly faster than her, but you don't.
The slow zombie gives me time to think about how I'm gonna die. It's the difference between getting shot and getting cancer. It's about considering all those horrific possibilities.
The whole fast zombie thing just misses the point. By removing any aggression from them, by stopping them from being all sort of like screechy and like raptors running at you, they become something you can project depth onto. That's what's so great about slow zombies, is that you're given time to get to know them, you know, before you shoot them in the head.
I do have a whole new level of respect for horror film actors, but especially, zombie horror film actors, because when they're slow, you really have to sell the fear, you know what I mean? You have to sort of like create scenarios in which you don't get away from these people that are moving at the pace of a snail.
Somebody once asked me, like, would you write a zombie survival guide for fast zombies? I'm like, yeah, it'd be a pamphlet. It would call Kiss Your Ass Goodbye.
I would argue that potentially Shaun of the Dead had a lot of influence in kind of killing the slow zombie in movies. If you have two bumbling idiots who can throw records at zombies and sort of accidentally kill them, it sort of causes problems in terms of trying to make the slow zombie really scary.
This makes me think of when I directed Night of the Living Dead, we hired a movement instructor. Because my idea was, if you're a zombie, then you leave your body. It's like if your body is hung on a fence and something comes and takes over the body that has never moved a human body before and tries to move and walk, but it was laughable. People were doing all kinds of stupid, weird shit with their... No, just walk slow, okay? Just walk slow. Because as you know, George Romero believes in slow zombies. He sells bumper stickers that say fast zombies suck.
My basic objection to fast zombies is that it's impossible if they're dead. If they're dead.
You know, there's an argument that Bill Hindman, who played the very first zombie in Night of the Living Dead, he was pretty sprightly as a zombie. He wasn't moving particularly slowly. The beginning of zombie evolution started with quite a quick-footed zombie, to be honest.
When we were making Night of the Living Dead, we had no sense of rules. It wasn't until I finally agreed to do another one that I said, well, wait, we gotta have a little process going here. We have to have something. I know that Bill moves pretty quickly, so I think I've sort of violated my own rules there, but I didn't even have rules then.
Zombie purists sometimes can get quite adamant about their feelings. I had a woman one time chastise me for making my living in horror and not knowing that zombies don't eat brains.
These movies come out and we get these like really particular zombie enthusiasts that will rip them apart on a message board. I'm like, come on guys, it's a porno.
The zombie purists want their zombies to be slow and shambling, and I like to say that they get kind of Dr. Seuss green eggs and ham about their zombies. They do not like them when they run, they do not like them when they're fun, they do not like them with a heart, they do not like them to be smart. They just want them to be slow and shambling and mindless.
Fast zombies, slow zombies. If zombies want to shoot lasers out of their eyes and it works in the story, I think that's fantastic. If you're a dead guy, you're walking around, maybe you're eating people, maybe you're not eating people, I don't know. If you're a dead guy walking around, you're a zombie.
For me, 28 Days Later was the first time I saw them sped up. And I just thought that was genius. How did we not think of this sooner? Zombies have been around forever, and no one has ever thought to just make them sprint. I mean, why wouldn't they? If they want the food, they just fucking go get it. So that was truly terrifying. I don't think there was anything charming about those zombies.
Fuck fast zombies. I fucking hate fast zombies. I hate them. Now, 28 Days Later, not a zombie movie. infection. Those people were infected. They aren't dead. So not a zombie movie, just for the record.
Slow zombies don't cut it for us often anymore. Our fears are more intense. The world is faster. Our technology is faster. We need a faster zombie. And I think a great example of it is bringing us all the way up to the present day and the World War Z film adaptation, where you see a virtual tsunami of zombie bodies just rushing mindlessly. They're not even human anymore. They're not even distinguishable as individuals. They're just a mass of flesh just washing over us.
So I was asked to be a scientific consultant on World War Z. I had the remit to think about zombies as if they were the product of natural selection. If natural selection is at play, we should expect to see very, very different things. We should expect to see cooperative behavior among zombies. So before they get bitten, they're individual humans with individual interests and different genetic relatedness, so they should be selfish. Once they're bitten, it doesn't matter which zombie bites the next human, so long as the virus gets there. We see many examples in nature of groups of organisms moving more quickly when the individual desire is subjugated to the success of the group.
You know, the milestone in zombie culture is the failure of the producer of Night of the Living Dead to renew the copyright. Because what that did is it put the picture in the public domain and meant that it was going to play on every cable TV station and every midnight movie possible. Anybody who had a videotape of that film could put it on their local television station and play it on Halloween or at midnight. And they did. And so many other imitators came along and parody filmmakers came along.
Kill the brain, lock and load.
And even great filmmakers like David Cronenberg owe an enormous debt to Romero, an enormous debt to the Night of the Living Dead. Zombies are definitely part of mainstream culture now. I mean, there can hardly be anybody left, at least in the English-speaking world, who hasn't seen a zombie movie by now.
I think the advent of video games and third-person shoot-'em-up games did more for the zombie genre than a couple movies even. I mean, I bought a Sega just so I could have one of those shitty orange guns and I could shoot at zombies.
Zombies have even infected video games that are not zombie video games. You have the Call of Duty franchise is probably the most famous, which has banked for its last few iterations on its zombie mode as being one of its big draws. When zombies are so popular that they're going to shoehorn zombies into non-zombie games, you know that we've reached a point of saturation in our culture. Triumph of the zombies.
You could put on Sesame Street a zombie and kids would know what it was. Kids would know what it was. A zombie. Oh, yeah.
Zombies don't eat meat because they can't have meat. They only eat your brains. When they eat your brains, the human brains come in their brain.
So in the last probably 2.5, 3 years, they've gone from a kind of underground, rabid cult following, people loved them, to this huge pop culture mainstream following. You just got to put the word zombie on something and it sells.
What if, say, technically you were not alive? Like, maybe you were undead?
Like a zombie.
Whoa, let's not go putting labels on people. I'm a zombie.
I'm here to tell you how to best prepare for the zombie apocalypse. Don't be afraid to bash our heads in. We could easily be taken out with a well-thrown rock. Or a 2x4. You want to know the best way to survive the apocalypse? Get the right health insurance.
This interview with a zombie, brought to you by the good folks at Rocky Mountain Health Plans.
You see him in commercials now. You see him in movie theater ads. I mean, zombies are everywhere, man. You want to talk about when is the zombie apocalypse coming? It's here.
No! It's ZombieCon weekend!
There's gotta be more of us out there.
The #1 show on cable that beat our show, Burn Notice, which was the #1 show on cable, is Zombies. how we got to be so popular is blind luck. It's as simple as that. Somehow we managed to tap in on some sort of public zeitgeist that wanted this sort of product at that sort of time.
I will meet somebody on the street and a guy will come up and say, "Oh my God, I love The Walking Dead. Stay right here." And he'll run over and he'll bring his wife over. And his wife will be more excited about The Walking Dead than he is.
I've always been uncomfortable with the success of The Walking Dead. When it debuted as a comic, it was like, oh wait, this thing's way more popular than it should be. And it's just kept getting more and more popular. And then when the show happened, I honestly didn't think the show was gonna be successful at all. I was hoping and praying that the show would be just successful enough to continue. It honestly makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, I don't know how this show is as popular as it is.
They're joining the ranks of the blockbuster pop culture icons like superheroes and action heroes.
Werewolves are kind of like the jocks of monsters. They're full of testosterone and sprouting hair all over the place and full of rage and screaming and running around. Vampires are kind of like the fraternity boys. They're always sort of suave and slick and trying to convince you to get into bed with them so they can drink your blood. And zombies are kind of like the nerds and the geeks. You know, they don't get the girls, but they don't have any ulterior motives. They wear their emotions on their sleeves. They say, I am a zombie and I want to eat your brains. That's a monster that's completely honest.
A vampire seduces. A zombie feeds. A zombie goes after you. And some people, they're turned on by that. They're turned on by relentless desire. They want to be desired like nothing else. You know, there are some people, nobody wants to be raped in real life, but a lot of people have rape fantasies. And sex with a zombie, probably the ultimate rape.
Shit, another walker. Don't worry, I got this one.
No, Glenn. Put your dick away.
It is tough to make a zombie porn, you know, because you kind of have to violate every law of porn, and then you're also at the same time violating all these, like, zombie laws.
It's been some day, hasn't it, son? Yeah. We got lost and then united. Had a threesome with your mom and my best friend. Now, Carl, I gotta know, do you have it in you to go over there and fuck that girl and kill her with your cum?
Walking Dead definitely sold the most out of probably any other porno we've ever made, so.
People love playing the role. And I think it is also an element of domesticating it, making it safer, making it fun.
Zombie culture has really blossomed. You have zombie walks or zombie crawls if you prefer, zombie runs, zombie fashion shows, zombie beauty shows, zombie weddings, zombie engagements, zombie birthday parties, zombie car washes.
I would never let a zombie wash my car.
Are you ready to meet your maker? You're not gonna, because you're gonna come back to be a flesh-eating beast. Are you ready? Yeah! You're ready to try to undie today? Runners, take your mark. Set. Undie! Sucker!
I was coming to the first annual Seattle Zombie Con, and a couple approached me who was going to the convention. They wanted to be married by me as zombies. And I'm like, but like, you want this to count, right? And I thought, you know, they're a poor family. This is a sacred thing, getting married, you know, and they're doing this as zombies and getting idiot guy who played Ash to marry them. But then you see their family. Who gives this zombie woman to be married to this lucky zombie man? All right, Dad. Go take a nap. The father couldn't sit down because he came as a guy who had a spike that had impaled him. And all the family came as zombies. Zombies don't think about what they're doing. They just do it. Huh? Right? Am I right, zombies? Come on, you freaks! Shut up, I'm still talking. If anybody needs zombies married, I guess I'm your go-to guy. But I've only performed one because they're gonna get really expensive now. Because it's just too weird.
Zombie fans, I think, are, I don't know. I can't identify who zombie fans are. Who are zombie fans? Are they fans of the genre? Are they fans of horror movies? All these people that come out for zombie walks? What is it? What is it that appeals to zombie fans?
I think that anyone that made Dawn of the Dead would have to understand what zombie culture is about. There's so much in that movie that's just about humans and human nature. You have to know, like, you have to see that. I don't know, that doesn't make sense. You don't put that in there.
I've seen a crowd of people go into the middle of a square as zombies, and then all of a sudden Thriller will blast and they all do the Thriller dance, okay. That I would like to participate in, but not the zombie walk.
I don't get it. I'm sorry. Well done to you people dressed as zombies. Good for you. I don't get it. That would be like me dressing up as someone with Ebola. It'd be like, come on, or there's going to be 16,000 people in Denver all walking pretending that they have testicular cancer. Come on.
It's nothing new that zombies walk. That's just what they do. And I never say that anyone ever invented the zombie walk because that's their kind of monster character.
I think maybe the very first time I ever dressed up as a zombie was for the first annual Denver zombie crawl. There was probably like 15 or 20 people. And I was like, God, this is so cool. What a great idea. We're all gonna dress like zombies and pound on the windows while people are eating dinner. And this is the coolest thing ever. And then the next year it was like, oh my God, this is like 50, 75 people, cool. And then the next year it was, hundreds. And I think last year was 15 or 17,000 people, families, professionals, children. It's amazing.
It's a punk thing. It's almost punk, right? Making a statement saying, I don't want to be part of this life. I'll be part of that life, but I don't want to be part of this life. I think that's really what it is. It's frustration, man.
I mean, it's all in good fun, it's play, but I feel like underneath that is a little bit of danger. And there's a message that's being sent that says, if we wanted to, we have the capacity to organize. Here we just got 10,000 zombies out in this public square. So I felt like it's a kind of tacit message to our government.
If you're into zombies, a zombie walk is like date night. If you're dressed as a zombie, sometimes that helps, especially if you're a little looks challenged. It's very liberating to be purposefully ugly. You can let your id out.
I do think corpses are a little bit attractive. I was sitting next to one earlier, and I'm gonna tell you, he was pretty handsome. I liked holding his hand. He was big, he was kind of buff, even though he was bony.
I think people are thinking too hard these days about, whoa, what's this zombie phenomenon? People love to dress up, they love to be other characters, they love to escape from themselves.
The costumes are amazing, they're cinematic, there's incredible gore, there's incredible creativity. Where else can you see a Lego zombie?
I don't know why people come out and do it. I have to pay union wages to get them to.
I think it's about getting connected again. It's so interesting to me. I see these zombie walks and nobody is tweeting or emailing or texting. They're actually talking to each other. And I know that sounds a little too peace and love and all that, but it actually reminds me, I used to follow the Grateful Dead around when I was in college, and it reminds me the most of a Grateful Dead show. Not in the way that people are checked out, but in the way that people are actually nice to each other. That doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen at a ball game, but it happens when people dress up like the Walking Dead and walk down the street.
Sometimes it's more fun to watch the audience than the participants, because whether they know it or not, the audience just became participants. The great thing about the zombie is you get bit by a zombie, then you're one of them, and you're part of this collective, you're part of this horde. Well, zombie fandom works the same way.
I think that's kind of the cool thing that's coming from all this. I mean, maybe people are, getting a skin knee when they're doing the zombie obstacle course, but they're having fun, they're having a good time. So to a very small degree, they're improving people's lives.
Run out! Where's that torch?
Please work. Please work. Please work.
Bravo 2, Bravo 1, switch has been pulled. Any change of situation upstairs?
That is a negative. Carry on your search, over.
Keep looking down there, gentlemen. Bravo 2 to Bravo 1, sit rep over. Bravo 2 to Bravo 1, come in, over. Hey, back, move! Let's go! Stay low, watch your heads. Single file upstairs, gentlemen. Guys, I need 2 eyes on this doorway behind me. Make sure the coffee comes in after us. Make sure the ring is clear. Is that? Listen in, the armor that thing has got built into it will take a 50 caliber. Our shotguns are gonna do dick and squat. If anything happens, we go there, fast as you can. No dicking around, yeah? That's where we're gonna fall back to. Move!
Basically, at events we provide a total immersive zombie experience. From the minute they arrive at the event, they are thrown into basically a narrative storyline. Everyone's got an idea of how they would handle a zombie apocalypse, and we're giving people the opportunity to try that out.
The Zombie Survival Guide came about during the Y2K scare of the late 90s. That was a time when people were starting to prepare for this sort of nebulous apocalypse that they didn't really understand. America specifically had been experiencing the largest post-war boom in its history, and times were good, but there was this feeling that times were about to change. And all these survival guides were coming out, and I noticed that none of them were addressing my fears. Granted, zombies are not real, but that certainly didn't stop anybody else publishing survival guides about all the other things that were gonna happen that were not real. Zombie movies are essentially disaster movies. And I think there has been a sense from 9/11 on that the system is breaking down. And we want to know what the end game is psychologically. We want to know what is all this leading to. And the problem is, if you watch a movie where the catalyst for that disaster is real, like a real nuclear war or a real plague or a real global financial meltdown, you will not sleep that night. So if the catalyst is something like zombies, then you can say, oh, wow, look, neighbors are stabbing each other and there's no services and FEMA's incompetent and the president is flying over going, that's peculiar. But it's zombies, so that's totally okay, and then I'm gonna go to sleep.
What would be your first order of business in a zombie apocalypse? Find some place that's like fortified, that I can control what comes in and what comes out, because if I can stop them before they even come in. Would it be a boat? Would it be what do you think? I don't know, never thought about the boat. You gotta think about these things. Right.
Everyone has their chance today to be prepared. You make the choice now, whether you're gonna be prepped to live or prepped to die.
Top 5 things that you would suggest people prioritize when they're creating a prep kit.
Water purification and filtration equipment, first aid if you get injured, security, hugely important, shelter and warmth, and shortwave radio, ham radio.
What is your motto at Atlas Survival Shelters?
Better prepared than scared. I build long-term survival shelters for private individuals so their family has a chance to survive what's coming down the road.
And is something coming down the road?
I believe something's coming down the road. A lot of people do.
What would you say if somebody said that one of those threats is zombies?
Say that again?
Like, what would you say if one of those threats was zombies? What if they're fast?
If they're fast, you could spend upwards of $10,000.
Okay, so you're fucked if they're fast.
You're fucked.
Your shelters are nuclear, biological, and chemical class survival shelters, but are they zombie proof?
From the television zombies?
Yeah, are your shelters?
From the television zombies, they're zombie proof, 100%.
There are people who are always asking me, do you have a zombie survival plan? And I'm like, no, I live in San Francisco. I don't even have an earthquake survival kit, so I'm not exactly on Darwin's short list for making it through this.
I always think maybe get into the attic would be a good thing to do because they can't climb. And you could, left at the ladder, they wouldn't know you're up there if you're real quiet, but you're gonna starve to death. People will make noise. I've got a little girl now and I can't keep her quiet anywhere, let alone in a attic in a house full of zombies. So I think you'd have to get up, I think you'd go north.
Once I'm sure that civilization is as screwed up as, it would be in a zombie apocalypse, I would jump off the tallest building. I don't wanna live like that. I don't like being hungry. You ever been hungry? It's not fun. I would hang on as long as I thought I could protect my wife and kids, and then once that didn't pan out, because I'm pretty sure it wouldn't pan out, then I would go.
I think I would just have to run away and call my children and wish them luck. Do the best you can where you are. I'll do what I can where I am. I ain't coming to get you. Sorry, dude. You had a good life.
I love my family more than Bruce Campbell loves his family. It's official.
Look, I'm not a very good shot. I certainly can't shoot a crossbow. I'm not a very good fisherman. I would say I'd be like Homer. Homer was blind and wandered around a really dangerous landscape with a bunch of feudal lords and somehow stayed alive by telling people stories and was smart enough never to have them end, right? Because if they ended, then they'd kill him.
I would drive here. I would do a zombie makeup on myself and then just walk around. The only problem would be if some dude with a shotgun saw me, he'd shoot me in the head, and then it would kind of defeat the purpose.
Are zombies on the news coming? Did I miss something? Are zombies like walking up and down my alley and I need to be ready for them? I'm sure you've seen examples of people that can't, there's no separation, This is something that's real to them. Wrestling is real to them.
What's up, Zedheads? The zombie apocalypse is coming whether you like it or not. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And our homies at Zombie Industries are gonna help us prepare. They've got the bleeding targets that you can use to arm yourself up and protect your family. Here at Zombie Industries, we're gonna teach you firearm safety, hand-to-hand combat, and how to put a bullet right through a zombie's brain. Cause it's your patriotic duty to prepare yourself for the zombie hordes. It's the end of the world, and I feel fine. We're gonna train you up solid. Ladies, show them what you got. We're coming for you, zombies.
We understand that it's not a matter of, if the zombies come, but more of a matter of when. And when they do, we want people to be ready. We're all about preparedness here, and it really is something that we think is a family activity. Everybody in the house should be prepared for when the zombies come. We really want to instill for our customers to actually have an avenue basically to come out and give them products to train with. Our targets basically have been shot in testing up to about 2,500 times, maybe a little bit more. We've shot them with everything from a 22 all the way up to a 50 BMG, so anything you want to throw at it. All of our bleeding targets have 500 individual cells of blood inside, distributed through the center mass and through the face. So it's not one large bladder where you shoot it once and everything runs out and the fun's over. Our targets are designed to last all day. Firearm safety is a very serious thing. When you start talking about shooting three-dimensional realistic human beings, a little people get uneasy about that, but as soon as you make it a zombie, well, then it's okay. We came out with the Chris zombie, who is the quintessential zombies. He still to this day remains our #1 seller. We did quickly move into the terrorist and the Nazi. The zombies don't really discriminate. So we came out with an ex-girlfriend. And people ask us all the time, how do you have a female shooting target? And I have to tell them, look, if it comes right down to it, if my mother becomes a zombie, it's gonna break my heart, but I'm not gonna hesitate. I'm gonna have to double tap her.
When the zombie apocalypse arrives, will you survive? Zombie go boom. Kick undead ass.
The USA-made K-Bar Zombie Killer Swabby was created to ensure you are prepared in the most extreme of situations.
Holy shit! Oh. Holy shit! We didn't know if that was actually a possibility to take somebody's face off. The layers are ridiculous. Crystal skull, extremely hard. The crystal skull is actually probably harder than a human skull, and this was just easy. How easy was that?
That was just as easy as the first strike.
ZGB approved. my God. Oh my God.
Calm down. It's okay.
I love that thing.
A common phrase in zombie circles is blades don't need reloading. And I always say, yeah, but blades need sharpening. Have you ever tried to hit someone with like the back end of a machete? Like the parts that are not sharp? Or the flat end of a machete? They'd be like, why'd you do that? You slapped me.
Pack of dogs. I have a big pack of dogs, big vicious and small vicious dogs. As long as there was dog food, you know. I mean, I guess the zombies would provide the dog food, but then the dogs, you know how dogs are like to get into corpses and stuff and they throw up. You know, I'd have to be letting the dogs out in the middle of the night so they could vomit, you know. And then the zombies might get in the house.
It's interesting because if it did happen, people would just think, okay, so it's like Romero movies, but it might not be. It might not necessarily be George's vision. It might be something else. You might cut their head off or smash it in and the body still comes after you or something like that, you know.
I think, you know, movies show that there really is no good weapon. They always find a way. You're gonna run out of bullets, you know. There's too many to hold off with a sword or blunt object. Fire doesn't stop them. I mean, we're screwed.
I have never seen a zombie movie where somebody dies of dehydration, but that's gonna kill a lot more people than zombie bites. I've never seen a zombie movie where someone has drunk from a puddle and crapped themselves to death, but that's gonna kill a lot more people than zombie bites. Starvation, disease, friendly fire, accidents, infections, all these things are gonna kill people a lot faster.
Liberals will become your zombies. They're going to be the first ones to cry and moan and die. And they're going to be the first ones to do the looting, the pillaging, and they're going to be the zombies.
Like a lot of liberal Americans, I was excited when Barack Obama took office 4 years ago. But it's a very different world now. And Mitt Romney is a very different candidate. One with the vision and determination to cut through business as usual politics and finally put this country back on the path to the zombie apocalypse. He's not afraid to face a ravening, grasping horde of subhumans, because that's how he sees poor people already. Paid for by the committee to learn parkour like really soon, like maybe take a class or something.
We've talked to a lot of survivalists and preppers, each of them stressing at the top of their list of most important things during any catastrophe, you know, like a zombie apocalypse, the need for clean water and water filters like this one. So in the name of survival, I'm gonna pee into this cup, filter it, and then drink it. Because if this filter works, it's not really my pee anymore, right? You ready for this? Okay, there we go. I'm just thinking like I'm at a doctor's office. All right, here we go. The zombies are coming. Oh God, it doesn't help that it's fizzy. It's warm. It kind of tastes like water. Yeah, I think that was safe to drink. We're good.
I've tried to break down every state in the United States based on zombie survivability, and I used 20 or 30 different factors. Topography, climate, public health infrastructure, natural resources, military presence, on and on and on. The most important one is population density by far. Up there also is gun ownership rate. New Jersey ranks the lowest in zombie survivability. Population density of 1,000 people per square mile, and a gun ownership rate of 12.3%. Then we look at Wyoming. Population density of 5.6 people per square mile, and a gun ownership rate of 68%. So it's like one dude with a gun sitting on a farm going, "Hey buddy, do you see a zombie over there?" And the other guy yelling over, "No, I don't see one." 5 people per square mile makes very few zombies. The entire Northeast is totally screwed. If you ever want a reason not to move to New York City, that's a reason. When zombies come, everybody's dead.
New York is the hero city. It just is. Like, I was in New York for 9/11, I was there for the blackout, and look what happened with this horrific storm. Like, New Yorkers freaking came together. They kept calm, they carried on, and they're dealing. So New York can handle anything, and it's the most densely populated place, I think, in North America. LA, where I'm from, gone.
I think one of the greatest misconceptions in zombie survival is that zombies are what you need to worry about when you're trying to survive. Zombies are only one of a whole host of threats that you really need to face, and I would argue that humans are as great, or maybe even a greater threat than zombies, right?
I'm not a horror fan. I don't seek out fear. I think that most horror fans in their core feel safe. I don't. I naturally feel scared. So my writing is to exercise an anxiety that I already have. I based my zombies on AIDS. Now, AIDS is insanely hard to get. It's not waterborne, it's not foodborne, it's not airborne. How in the world did it kill millions and millions of people and still killing millions and millions of people? Because we as people were stupid. If the President of the United States had gone on national television in, say, 1981 and said, look, there's a really, really horrible disease, hard to get, but if you do get it, you're doomed. So there's going to be a national education campaign. We could have cured AIDS with a pamphlet. And so it's easy to imagine something like a zombie plague getting out of control.
Absolutely, a zombie pandemic is possible. This new wave of zombie is this living zombie that is created by some sort of infection or virus that gets out of hand. I really do think that it's more plausible now than I did, say, 5 years ago.
Could a zombie apocalypse happen? Well, let's examine what we mean, or what the storytellers mean when they say this. They mean a parasite jumping from one organism to another. This happens routinely. 60% of all human diseases come from the animals that we eat or live with. AIDS has infected 75 million people and killed 35 million people. Bird flu and swine flu, the bubonic plague in Europe killed half of the population at the time. The Spanish epidemic in 1918 killed more people than the First World War.
ANSD is the abbreviation for the disease I made up. It stands for Ataxic Neurodegenerative Satiety Deficiency Syndrome. Ataxic means you don't walk well. Neurodegenerative means that your brain is being degraded, is degenerating. Satiety is the sense that you're full, the sense that you've eaten enough, and that's in your brain too. Your brain is what tells you you've eaten enough. And it's a syndrome because we don't know what causes it. There's one thing that we can't ever do. We can't raise the dead. In the book I wrote, we philosophically decided that they were dead because I realized, medically speaking, I can't have anything that makes the dead come back to life. But other than that aspect, you can have brain pathology. You can have neurobiological insults that will yield a kind of presentation of a person who acts like the zombies we see in the movies.
There are many splendid examples of parasites that control behavior. And oftentimes these examples are as fantastical or even more fantastical than we can see in Hollywood creations. So we have examples of fungi controlling ant behavior. We have emerald jeweled wasps injecting a very specific mind manipulator into the brains of cockroaches. Lots of examples of parasites controlling behavior. We call them zombies, and we even think about it now in the context of zombie biology. In the case of the ants, in case of the zombie ants, what happens is that a regular colony of ants is living in a tropical rainforest. And in the course of foraging, they walk through a patch of fungal spores on the ground. And these fungal spores attach tightly and then start replicating inside its body. And then at a particular moment when the fungus needs to complete the rest of its life cycle, it controls the behavior of this ant, making it leave the colony and go out into the understory vegetation and go to the underside of a leaf, deeply embed those mandibles into the leaf, because on the underside of this leaf, on the platform, the fungus is going to grow a large stalk from the back of the ant's head to produce spores, which are shot down onto the forest floor, and the cycle continues again. Why doesn't it happen for humans? It really comes down to a numbers game. There are almost 1 million species of insects, and there are roughly 5,500, 6,000 species of mammals. So evolution just hasn't had the opportunity to play with our minds. But despite that, we do see some really cool examples in mammals of control of behavior. Rabies is something that really springs to people's minds.
When I was growing up, no one ever talked about mad cow disease, but mad cow disease is in the news a lot now. Here's the problem with mad cow disease. It's created by a protein. It's called a prion. It's a mutated protein. This protein, if it gets in your brain, it causes all the other proteins in your brain to mutate also. The new strain of this protein is showing evidence that it can be transferred from blood to blood. On top of that, the new symptoms are, it causes you to go insane, and often violently insane. Mad cow disease turned into mad human disease, turned into mad zombie disease, okay? We already have mad cow, we already have mad human, and we're halfway to mad zombie. But the problem is, once it happens, it's too late. There's no more polite discussion about what it's going to be like and debating about the best way to survive. It's run and scream time, right? There's no more making movies. There's no more watching TV. There's just, oh my God, I'm being eaten.
It appears the dead have risen and are walking among us. These zombies have a certain sexual preference by attacking only men. Leading officials at the Pentagon are not sure if this is a biological attack or if the zombies are simply doing this by choice.
He's trying to stop my hair!
In every town in America, pretty much, or any town of any reasonable size, there's a group of young people engaged, even as we speak, making their independent zombie film.
I don't know when the zombie craze is going to die out. I don't think it'll ever die out completely. I think in some element, they're going to be here to stay.
I did not expect it to go on this long. I happened to write the zombie paper and then later the book just at the right time. And then it just keeps flying forward, this whole, or shambling forward, I should say, this whole zombie thing.
There's probably a ceiling on zombie popularity, but I don't know if we've seen it yet, and I don't know when we will see it, but as long as things are fucked up.
I've heard a number of people say that, this is it, okay, zombies have run their course and now we're gonna see vampires again, or we're gonna see werewolves, or we're gonna see tapeworms, I don't know.
World War Z, the movie, is a perfect case study of not just how mainstream zombies have become, but how much more mainstream they might become. Because that film is a PG-13, it is sort of a new frontier in a sense.
And that was scooped just a little bit by the Warm Bodies film, because the Warm Bodies film was kind of the first zombie date movie. Now we have a zombie movie you can bring your girlfriend to.
To me, zombie movies aren't zombie movies without gore. That's like doing a gangster movie, but nobody has any guns. Part of the whole culture of it is the idea that you are being devoured, literally, by another human being.
From Night of the Living Dead to World War Z, we've covered a lot of ground, so it'll be interesting to see, zombies in space or something.
Not only do we have PG-13 zombie movies, we have kids zombie movies now.
Hollywood is banking on zombies being that big. And to me, zombies have always been small and little guys.
I really believe that it's something that connects us all, and it's gonna get bigger.
They're gonna be on your streets, they're gonna be in your stores, they're gonna be coming at you, whether they're fast or slow or whatever the hell they are, but it's here to stay. And you know what? If you don't like it, get used to it, because it's not going anywhere.
Story could be kinda gory, far from boring. We'd meet at a post-apocalypse. Yeah, I'd be slowly walking in a group stalking you. You'd be the only man alive that I could not resist. Then all of your friends, they'd try to kill us, but only because they'd be jealous that our love is deeper than Edward and Bella. If I were a zombie, I'd never eat your brain. I just want your heart, yeah, I don't want your heart, I just want your heart, yeah. Oh, if I were a zombie, I'd never eat your brain. I just want your heart, yeah, I don't want your heart, I just want your heart, 'cause I want you. You'd be hiding in a second floor apartment, knocking all the stairs down to save your life from the undead. Double barrel shotgun, taking out the slow ones. Then you'd see the passion burning in my eye, and I'd keep my head. Then all of your friends, they'd try to kill us, but only because they'd be jealous that our love is deeper than Edward and Bella's. Oh, if I were a zombie, I'd never eat your brain. I just want your heart, yeah, I don't want your heart, I just want your heart, yeah. Oh, if I were a zombie, I'd never eat your brain. I not to bite and infect you because I respect you too much. If that's why I'd wait until we got married. Oh, and our happiest days would be spent picking off all your friends, and they'd see a love this deep won't stay big.